Making news this week, Brendon Grylls will step down as the leader for the WA Nationals Party.
Police urge leavers to behave and warn toolies to stay away.
Exclusive reports on Cockburn ratepayers uniting against the split.
And presidential candidates get ready as Chile heads to the polls.
This is the Evening News with Ivan Leung and Danielle Staniskov.
Good evening. Brendon Grylls has confirmed that he will step down as the leader for the WA Nationals Party, along with the role as the Minister for Regional Development. However, he will retain his seat as the member for Pilbara. Here's an extract of the press conference.
We have built the foundations of a sustainable regional Western Australia into the future, and I am damn proud of that. I am damn proud of that. However, what happens in this life is you get to the point of realising when your time is coming to an end and where the opportunity is for the next generation of leaders to come forward. I've got to that point, and that's why over the course of the last couple of days you've all become aware of my intention to step down as leader and as Minister for Regional Development over the coming weeks. That was a decision that I thought was the right decision. I believe the timing is right for the transition of the leadership. I believe that in handing over the leadership, with that should come the portfolio of regional development and custodianship of the Royalties for Regions program. I think that those two things go hand in hand, and so it was my decision to step down from both the leadership and the portfolio, and in stepping down from the portfolio, that gives the new leader obviously enormous ability to drive the regional development agenda into the future. To my 11 colleagues standing behind me, they've backed me every step of the way, every single decision. I don't think they always agreed with them all of the time, but their support to me has been immense. And again, we did break the mould, we did do things differently.
Meanwhile, Premier Colin Barnett respects Mr Grylls' decision and wishes he will come back to the Cabinet soon.
A few weeks ago, we discussed it, and I certainly made the point, well, look, if you feel you want to step down from Cabinet, that's fine. I understand and respect that decision, but maybe in a couple of years' time you'll come back in, and I hope you do.
There will be a heavy police presence during this year's Leavers Week, taking place in Dunsborough and Rottnest Island. WA Police are determined to stamp out toolies, drug dealers and alcohol to keep the event safe. Shibs reports.
In a press conference on Wednesday morning at the police headquarters, Regional Commander Murray Smalpage urged leavers to look after themselves, their friends and respect other people. Parents are also advised not to supply alcohol or drugs to their loved ones.
There's one message I would like to get across loud and clear to our leavers themselves, and that is they need to look after themselves and their friends, and I ask them to treat themselves and others with a degree of respect and behave in an appropriate manner. We make no apology in advance that if your leaver or loved one misbehaves or doesn't act appropriately, we will step in swiftly to take action.
Acting Police Minister John Day also warned leavers who are going overseas to understand different law systems in foreign countries. Mr Day advised parental supervision is a vital step to avoid mistakes being made and encourage leavers to enjoy the celebration week in Western Australia instead.
I would not want my children who are just leaving school to be going to Bali on their own or with a group of school leavers without parental supervision. So my personal advice would be to strongly discourage that. If children are going, then parents do need to have a good talk to them about the dangers there.
Shibs WMN News.
Cockburn residents are strongly against the new local government boundary proposal, which will see the city of Cockburn being carved up. During this week's community meeting, the mayor urges residents to take action to keep Cockburn intact. Josef has this exclusive report.
Just 24 hours after the state government announced amalgamation boundary changes, Cockburn ratepayers band together to protect their city. Approximately 100 residents attended the major meeting, which was held at the Cockburn City Council building. The residents discussed their campaign move, which includes rallies, signing petitions, contacting local MPs and dropping off flyers in the neighbourhood to raise awareness.
Well, firstly, it's very encouraging to see such a wide cross-section of our community, sporting, cultural, clubs, arts, etc., coming out tonight to support the City of Cockburn in its move to ensure the retention of the city. Well, I'm certain that when we have the opportunity as a local government to talk to the LGAB, that will put a very compelling case that is well structured and demonstrates the sustainability of the city of Cockburn.
Under the new merged proposal, Cockburn's northern area will be divided between Fremantle and Melville, while the southern area will merge with Kwinana.
So Fremantle will remain its own, take in North Fremantle, remain North Fremantle into Fremantle, East Fremantle and parts of Cockburn, and Melville will be expanded into Canning, Cockburn and parts of Fremantle as well.
On Tuesday, WA Minister for Local Government Tony Simpson has finalised the new local government amalgamation plans and boundaries. The state government aims to reduce the amount of city councils from 30 down to 15 by 2015. Josef Barker, WAMN News.
Fremantle Mayor Brad Pettitt was relieved that his city will not be wiped off the map. Under the new boundary changes, Fremantle's population will rise from 30,000 to 80,000. The mayors believe the change can help the council carry out an integrated planning strategy to revitalise the Fremantle CBD.
Certainly the City of Fremantle is very pleased. I think it's a sensible way forward and one that actually supports the key arguments that we were making in Fremantle, was one that we needed to keep Fremantle as a separate local government focused on the heart of Fremantle as a primary regional centre, but also one that had a really strong community of interest around it. Well, I understand. I mean, it's one of those, it's always hard when you've got major changes like this. You're always going to have some councils that feel like they've got a good result and some that feel like, that they're losing important parts of that. I do think, though, that that those parts of Cockburn do relate strongly to Fremantle as a centre. Many people come to Fremantle all the time and see it as many ways as part of their backyard. So I think it's actually still a good, even though I understand that Cockburn is not happy with it, I do think that there's a really strong logic and rationale behind the government's plans.
The City of Cockburn is warning residents to keep in mind that the mosquito season is drawing close. Residents are urged to protect themselves and their families as the weather gets hotter.
We all like to be outdoors, and we like to be outdoors having our barbecues and that at dusk. So, I mean, the obvious thing is to try and remain inside dawn and dusk, limit your activities around sort of known breeding areas, our lakes, things like that. Where that's not feasible, we like people to cover up, use their DEET-based product, so and have a look around your house as well, because there's a lot of localised breeding that we don't know about. So, pot plants, small ponds, gutters, things like that.
In news in Asia, the devastating typhoon that hit the Philippines last week has sparked an outpour of sympathy and aid from around the world. However, Hong Kong people aren't so keen to contribute, as both countries' relationship is in standoff after the Manila hostage crisis.
Despite the Legislative Council approved the Hong Kong government's plan of inputting $40 million into the Disaster Relief Fund for the Philippines, the general public doesn't seem to be convinced about the donation. The reaction on popular online forums indicated that some members of the public believe the Philippine hostage crisis back in 2010 is still unsolved, and the city says shouldn't be providing any help at all. While some citizens believe the Filipino president's comments were taken out of context. Meanwhile, Australia's Foreign Minister Julie Bishop has promised to work closely with Philippines and responded with a $10 million assistance package. Raphael Lim, WAMN News.
Chilean President Sebastian Perez said it's likely there will be a runoff between the candidates to the presidency of Chile, who will meet at the polls this Sunday. Candidate Michelle Bachelet maintains advantage for Chilean elections, but there will be runoffs between sounding names.
Elections in Chile were marked by civil order with which Chileans went to vote. And already revealed the results, we will have to vote again on December, only for two options, Michelle Bachelet or Evelyn Matei. The other candidates were left behind. For Bachelet, 46.42%. For Evelyn Matei, 25.26%. Franco Parisi, 10.63%. Marcos Enrique Sominami, 10.64%. For Roxana Miranda, 1.21%. Marcel Claude, 2.8%. Jocelyn Holt, 0.18%. Ricardo Israel, 0.57%. And for Mr. Spade, 2.24%. So the next December 15 will decide the next President of the Republic, after Michelle Bachelet's favorite failed to get an absolute majority in these elections. For For WIMN News, Brian Ramirez, Santiago, Chile.
And that's how Perth looks tonight. We have more news on our website.
You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you again next week.
Good night.